afternoon. Today we will be interviewing the Mrs. Landis, Mrs. in 7th class, on October 20th, 2011. Mrs. Landis, what got you interested in painting?
I've been interested in painting since I was a little girl. I used to actually copy comic books when I was about 4 years old, and I've loved to paint ever since.
Mrs. Landis, how did you get interested in the history of York?
I took an internship at the Historical Society of York County, and I've always been interested in history, and that introduced me to the history of York. And I became so interested when they offered me a job, I said yes.
Why do you think people wanted to have the murals painted in York?
Originally, they wanted to have them painted to attract tourists.
How did you get involved with the murals?
I had painted a few background murals in the Historical Society while I was working there. And Mr. Appel's assistant, Holly Stetler, saw them, and she knew he wanted some Louis Miller murals, and these were all of Louis Miller. So she asked him to look at them, and he liked them, so he asked me to paint them.
What role did you play in the murals being painted in York?
What role did I play? Well, at first, everyone would gather in Mr. Appel's office, and we would choose which one of the murals we all wanted to paint. And then we would, they would put the drive-it, or the original blocking, up for us to paint on, and then we'd start.
What are your thoughts and feelings about the murals coming to York when you first heard about the project?
I didn't like the idea because York has such wonderful architecture. I couldn't imagine how you could add to it.
What made you change your mind about the murals?
Well, when I saw some of them painted, and they painted them in very appropriate places, I thought they were wonderful.
What did you have to do in order to be selected to paint the mini murals?
To paint the mini murals, I just had to, well, when they saw my work, it was all right. I just had to show them what I had done. And do you want any further? Anything further on that question?
No.
Is that enough? Okay, thank you.
What was the process you used to make the mini murals?
Projected. They were all done from Louis Miller paintings. And I have the Louis Miller book with me later on. I'll show it to you. And they were all, had to be very accurate. So I would take an overhead projector, and at night we would go to Cherry Lane and project them and draw in exactly what we wanted to draw. And then the next day, during the day, we could paint them.
How did the weather affect the murals?
Well, we were usually pretty careful to select our weather, but one day we had to get one done, and we painted it, and unfortunately it rained. We were using water-based paint, and it rained right after we painted it, and it all washed off. But mostly they weren't affected by the weather. When you paint acrylic, it stays there. Okay?
How has the weather affected the murals?
I think that was the one I just answered. But you mean after we painted them? Now, mostly it's the sun that affects them. The sun will fade the murals, and a few of them that haven't been coated will be faded by the sun.
What What does the city do if the mural gets vandalized?
Oh, well, 2 of the Miller murals were vandalized from Cherry Lane. And I went with the city and they used power washing at a very low power. And took some of the graffiti off. And after that, I repainted them, the parts that had been graffitied.
To your knowledge, was future preservation of the murals ever discussed?
No, not to my knowledge, I don't think so. Until after that graffiti business, and then I decided that they should be coated. And I talked to the people at the trust, and they coated them for me.
Why do you think the murals are important to York?
I think they really show York's history, even better than most of the history books do. They show women, which the history books don't mention, and they show blacks, which the history books don't mention. So they really give a good idea of York's history.
Is there anything else you would like to share with us?
I think we've been pretty accurate about everything. Just that some of the murals are going to disintegrate and there is nothing you can do about it. So just feel sorry for them.